It was a bad matchup, says your friend, as they come over dejectedly after losing their win and in for top 8. It was a bad matchup. Nothing I can do. Well, there are things you can do, and it's always important to take your bad matchups and play the best you possibly can to win, like this match we're going to watch right now. What's up, my friends? Happy Thanksgiving. A little Thanksgiving match review for you here on the channel. Just want to say I appreciate y'all. Very, very thankful for what I do. I've been in full-time content creator for over 10 years now, and it really is because of all of you fine folks. So hearts in the chat, hearts in the comments. I love y'all. Really, really appreciate it. What you're all doing for me and allowing me to do what I do. So I love y'all. So we got a match review here. This is from last weekend's SCGCON Vegas, the regional championship, the last regional championship of the year. Last big Magic event of the year. That's not World Championship, which of course is a big one as well. And we got a round 9 feature match between Ryan Bellamy, who used to be a former coaching student of mine many, many years ago. Ryan's now, I think he's 17 now at this point, and Ryan's been crushing it on the Spotlight and RC circuit, doing really, really well. Hasn't broken through yet to make that first Pro Tour or that really, really big finish. Has won a lot of NRG tournaments and stuff, doing well on that series. And it's so cool to see Ryan at this level of the game now. And I used to coach him and his dad back, I don't know, 6-7 years ago, and he was like 10 years old. I would coach him and his dad. So cool. I ran into them at ERC like a year or two ago in he was in Atlanta or somewhere, San Diego. I don't know exactly, but I was at dinner with a friend, and Ryan's dad texted me. He's like, "Hey, look to your right," and I was like, "Oh wow, what's up, guys?" So really cool to see Ryan doing so well. Opponent here is Ryan Mullins, another phenomenal player who's doing really well on the circuit, and this is a bad matchup for Bellamy. This is Boros Energy up against the new Simic Birthing Ritual deck. So Mullins playing Boros Energy. Nothing too crazy here, just kind of a stock Boros Energy list. And this Boros Energy deck is having a resurgence, doing very well in this tournament. Did really bad at the Pro Tour because of metagame considerations, but now it's shifting back to being good again. And Bellamy's playing the hot new deck, which is the Simic Birthing Ritual deck, which is a really good grindy deck. Excellent against Jeskai Blink, kind of those slower, grindier decks. Not as good against all-in aggro. So we're going to see Bellamy navigate this poor matchup and see if Bellamy can take it down. Or will Bellamy fall in the bad matchup and have that be just, another bad beat story to tell your friends. So let's hop right into the match here. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe. As always, if you like these match reviews, please let me know in the comments. Drop a like, drop a hype if you're really feeling it. New hype feature. Everyone gets 3 hypes a day, and it helps out a ton as far as the algorithm goes. So look for that hype button if you can find it. And I appreciate y'all. Love y'all. Happy Turkey Day. Let's go. All right, we jump into game number 2. We see Ryan Bellamy on the top playing Simic Birthing Ritual, up a game 8-0 in the tournament. Just took a mulligan to 6. Ryan Mullins on the bottom playing Boros Energy, also 8-0. These are players playing for 9-0. Ryan Bellamy up a game. Pretty bad matchup for Ryan Bellamy. Simic Birthing Ritual is a really cool grindy deck, kind of a new deck here in Modern, and but does not play well against like the really fast aggression plus removal spells of Ryan Mullins. However, Ryan Bellamy was able to take game number 1 in pretty impressive fashion. And now here in game 2, on the draw, on a mulligan, basically every single thing stacked up against Ryan Bellamy, except for the fact that Ryan Mullins does not have a 1-drop, just an Elegant Parlor for a scry tapped. And now we see Ryan thinking things over. There are 2 Stern Scolding in Ryan's deck list in the sideboard. So Ryan Mullins thinking about how to play through that. Going to lead things off with a Guide of Souls, kind of like playing your worst creature first to bait it through, and there is the Ragavan. So both those resolve. Mullins knows that Ryan Bellamy does not have a Stern Scolding and is on the board. The thing about this blue-green ritual deck is there really isn't much removal in it. There are only 2 dismembers, so there are a few ways to kill creatures, but not that many. It can block okay. There are Ice Fang Coddles and Coiling Oracles and stuff to block Ragavan. But not a lot of ways to get things off the board. So if Ryan Mullins is able to go wide and do kind of like the usual Boros Energy thing, things snowball out of control really fast. So again, Ryan Bellamy able to kind of steal game 1 in the back of a bunch of Oculuses. You missed that, go watch the full match. But here we are in game number 2, and Ryan Bellamy has a lot of work to do. So we're going to see a Scry. Going to put the card on top off of the maze and go to Ryan Bellamy's turn 2. And there's Mystery Infars and just a pass. This could be a lot of things here. It could be some interactive spells. It could also be Ice Fang Coddle, which would block Ragavan and look pretty good. So back Mullins' way. Mullins is going to draw. Looking at a turn 3 here. Needs to play around interaction. Maybe try and get some energy, get the Ragavan into the air, get it out of 1 toughness range so it can't be blocked by an Ice Fang Coddle. And we're going to see Ryan start off with a fetch land, Sacred Foundry, untapped. So 3 mana available, and a lot going on. Okay, so shuffle up and a cut. Going to tap 2. I'm going to play a Johnny Nakatl Pariah. Obviously, a very powerful card that is also able to get 2 energy and get Ragavan in the air. Pitch Cast Subtlety, goodbye Sink into Stupor. So a temporary solution that'll put the Johnny back on top. And now we see a fetch land from Ryan. Ryan had to pitch a spell to do that. So on a mulligan, now down another card off the pitch spell. Going to fetch up a Snow-Covered Island. Going to pot him for a cut. And we're going to see an Ice Fang Coddle in combat, and then an immediate Galvanic Discharge. So insane for Mullins here, being able to kill that blocker, get the Ragavan through, actually gets 2 additional energy. So next turn, Guide of Souls can jump a creature, and we see Ragavan will hit a Otawara, nothing really big there. Here's a treasure, and now Belmy really up against it. Great draw for Ryan Mullins, despite the fact that there was no 1-drop, and passing it back Belmy's way. So Belmy with 3rd land, and going to rock a Shardless Agent. Going to cascade into the Stern Scolding. So, not a great start here for Belmy. Of course, that's the downside of bringing in a card like Stern Scolding, is that it screws up your cascades. Normally trying to cascade into Birthing Ritual, the namesake of the deck, but just a 2/2 for 3. Just a gray ogre here trying to lay in the defenses against Mullins' powerful start. So back Mullins' way. Mullins has Ragavan, Guide of Souls, 3 energy to Guide of Souls trigger to send the Ragavan into the air. And that's what's going to happen here. So we see 3 energy spent, 2+ the most encounters. Ragavan's now a Flying Angel Monkey. Hits another Sink into Stupor. And that is a castable card. So there are 2 treasures in play. So Sink could be cast. So we see here the follow-up of Johnny from last turn having been drawn again. And now actually it's funny because Mullins could defend this with the Sink into Stupor exile by using both treasures and the Foundry. But not necessary. Here is the Cat Warrior to go with the Johnny. And use 2 treasures. And we're going to see a Seasoned Pyromancer. So Pyromancer comes down, gets some more energy, discarding the last card in hand, which is a Static Prison. So 1 token off the Pyromancer. And now we see why this matchup looks pretty bad for Belmy. You know, we see 6 creatures in play, a bunch of energy, and all these creatures are super, super high quality. Poor Belmy only has a single Shardless Agent and nothing else going on. So we got to draw, we got to fetch land crack. 4th land coming into play. And Belmy has a lot of work to do if Belmy wants to try and not force a game 3 here. Going to start things off with a Maze. So there's your elemental token from before. Judges were just putting it together and getting it. 4 energy available for Mullins to put another thing into the air. And we see a Scryland puts a card in the graveyard, immediately doesn't care what it is, and there's an Abhorrent Oculus. Now, Oculus is the card that can stem the tide here a bit. In game 1, Ryan was able to produce multiple Oculi over the course of a few turns and make a bunch of blockers. This is the way where Belmy can't really deal with Mullins' wide board, but Belmy can make a wide board of his own. Oculi manifests and do things that way. So, end step fetch from Mullins, going to surveil. A lot of big outs here. Any Flage, basically any way to kill this Oculus will almost assuredly end the game. Okay, so gonna leave the card on top. End step Oculus Manifest. See 2 cards in hand for Belmy. There's the first Manifest. Ryan is drawn off the top. So it does keep the card, and it is another Guide of Souls. So another energy, up to 5, a few more life points. And the follow-up is the last card in hand. If it's a way to remove this Oculus, Belmy's in trouble. It's not. It's another Ragavan. So simply playing the Ragavan to Legend Rule it as +2 life, +2 energy. This puts Mullins at 7 energy, allowing for 2 separate Guide of Souls triggers to get 2 things into the air. So there's a 5/5 flying blocker and 2/2 ground blockers. Ragavan's already a 4/3 flyer. Bunch of smaller creatures. Don't want to get these Guide of Souls or the Johnny in combat? Maybe. So the options here are to go wide and spread out the Angel flying across multiple bodies. Let the Ragavan get blocked by the Oculus, but get in with 2 other large flyers for perhaps, 8 damage. And I honestly, let's add it up here. I feel like if everything attacks, let's see here. So we see in this instance, let's pause for a second. So let's give a little pause. So right now, the Guide of Souls can't attack. And that's it. Everything else is a viable attacker. If we see Mullins here, attack with everything. Put the 2 Guide of Souls triggers, 1 onto the cat token and 1 onto the pyromancer. That means that there's 8 guaranteed damage coming through in the air. Oculus blocks the Ragavan, and now we have a token and a Johnny and a Guide of Souls getting in. Charles Agent blocks the Ajani. Manifest blocks the Guide of Souls. I guess that puts Bellamy to 1. Puts Bellamy to 1 and loses the Ajani. The Ragavan, who is close. Yeah. Loses Ajani, loses Ragavan, and loses the Guide of Souls. But is left with 2 flying attackers against 1 Oculus. Ooh, man, it's really risky. Yeah, on coverage live, I couldn't do the math fast enough. It looks lethal. It is actually 1 short, and it's risky. I mean, putting your opponent to 1 life, Bellamy's deck doesn't really gain life, and it can produce flying blockers, though. So it's not like one of these flyers would get through. And then losing the Ajani is also a super huge cost. So pretty interesting. So let's see what Mullins actually does here. Mullins thinking through the attacks, and we're going to see. So we're going to see a different path here. Rather than go wide, Mullins is going to go tall. So Mullins is going to use both Guide of Souls triggers on the Ragavan, making it into an 8/7 flyer, putting basically a forced block on the Ragavan, where Oculus has to chump, which is pretty huge. We see Manifest block the Elemental. And you can't block the cat because any cat block flips to Johnny and then is instantly lethal. So we see block like this. This puts Bellamy taking 2, killing an Elemental, trading with Pyromancer, and then losing the Oculus on the chump block, which is really tough because this forced block removes the Oculus from the board. So I think in retrospect, this is better than Attack with Everything. I think that this is a better plan for the long game. It's really close though. I'm really not sure. I'm by no means a Boros Energy master. So we're going to see the blocks. We're going to see Oculus go away, and now the board looks quite good for Mullins. We have 2 Guide of Souls, a Johnny, a token that can't die or a Johnny flips, and this absolutely monstrous 8/7 Flying Angel Monkey Ragavan. So going back Bellamy's way, Scalding Tarn, crack. There's that 3rd Snowland. So now the thing is that these Ice Fang Coddles do a really good job of blocking this Ragavan. So that's kind of the downside of going tall, which is why I wasn't thrilled about it on the actual broadcast. I'm not sure. You know, definitely putting Bellamy to 1 is pretty cool. But all right, so we see Agent number 2. Will this one be more kind? Dismember? Yes, it will. So this Birthing Ritual, the namesake card of a deck. This allows Bellamy to sacrifice just look at last 7 cards in the end step, and then if so chooses, sacrifice a creature to get a creature that could cost 1 more or less. So this is the engine of a deck, kind of be able to plow through, keep finding Ice Fang Coddles, and so on. So instead we see an Oculi. So we see a replacement Oculus, which is huge. Second Ritual goes off, and this one we'll see. Now, this needs to be a thing that can block Ragavan, or Bellamy is dead, or has to chump block with Oculus again. So it's an Endurance. So would have preferred Ice Fang Coddle. Ice Fang can block with Death Touch, but here's the Endurance, which now can block the Ragavan safely. Oculus goes off. Bellamy trying desperately. And if you have an eagle eye there, you see that was actually another Oculus going face down as the manifest. So a little bit of a flash there for the camera. And now going back Bellamy's way, it's now a huge turn where if Bellamy's able to survive with the Oculus and untap, play another Oculus, now the board will go wide enough where things can go through. And this Ragavan is still huge, but these Birthing Rituals give Bellamy so many looks over the next few turns. It's 14 cards every turn to find an Ice Fang Coddle, and Mullins is playing off the top. All right, so Mullins not going to attack with Ragavan. So if Ragavan were to attack into the Endurance and the Oculus, both can block, and Mullins would lose Ragavan, Bellamy would lose Oculus. I'm not even sure if that's that bad of a trade, because the Rituals will likely find a flying blocker for Ragavan at some point next turn. I kind of like the attack there, try to trade with the Oculus, but we're going to see just a token come in. Token can't be blocked, so it would flip the Ajani, putting Bellamy to 5. But 5 is a decent amount, 3 is a much better range for the Flage deck, for the Goblin Bombardment deck. There are a lot of big hits in Mullins' deck that kind of win the game, but has turned off, had obviously not drawn a card this turn. 1 card drawn for turn is the only card in hand for Mullins. If it was any way to remove Oculus or provide a threat, it would be in play. So it's almost surely a land. So back Bellamy's way. Bellamy's just going to go right to the end step and start activating these Birthing Rituals. So 7 cards, then a separate 7 cards. And the first 7 cards are going to reveal nothing. Just going to decline. Whether it might have been a possible hit, but Bellamy says, I think Oculus and the Endurance are more important in play. Now the second Ritual goes off. This one, I think, looking for it. Yep, there's an Ice Fang in the window. So can sacrifice the Endurance, put the Ice Fang into play. The Ice Fang, a much better blocker for the Ragavan. It is a little more vulnerable to things like Goblin Bombardment or ways to kill it, but those are really bad for Belmy anyway, so I like this a lot. So sack the Endurance, play the Ice Fang, draw a card. And then we're going to see an end step, the flip on the third Oculus, as we saw flash before. So Oculus go, and then pass the turn, and now you get to see 2 more manifests. So now Ryan's board is getting quite large. So we see two manifests face down. Mullins is trying to find a way to close this game out. There are now multiple flying blockers. There was no way to really cheese that Ragavan through. However, Belmy's at 5, and this Cat Warrior is unassailable. If this Cat Warrior ever dies, the game is over because the Johnny will flip, and the Johnny will deal 5 damage to Belmy's face. So any way to kill this warrior, even like a Galvanic Discharge, some way for Ryan to kill the warrior, a second of Johnny, the Legend Rule, flip the cat. There are many, many ways out here. So here comes the cat, and Belmy thinking things through, but just can't in any way kill this cat. So got to go to 3. 3's a lot worse than 5. Now, Flage is lethal. I don't believe there's any bolts in Mullins' list, but any way to kill a Johnny, any way to kill a cat token is lethal. Flage is lethal. Goblin Bombardment is lethal. A lot of pitfalls, but just an Arid Mesa and a pass. So definitely a little fortunate for Belmy here that Mullins has missed for a turn or two. Boros not known as a deck that has particularly good, card filtering. There's no preordains or stuff like that. It really is just kind of, once you're at this stage of the game, you're just playing off the top. So back Belmy's way. And now Belmy has his engine going of double birthing ritual. These Oculi are going. That being said, Mullins is still at 24 life, and it's pretty hard for Belmy to attack into this 8-7 flying Ragavan. So somehow Ragavan's become the best defensive wall of all time. An 8-5 or an 8-7 flyer, the Oculi cannot get through. So Belmy does need to try and end this game, as eventually Ryan will draw a way to get rid of this cat token, flip over a Flage, whatever else it might be. So we're going to see Belmy going in for an attack here with the Ice Fang. This looks a little weird, but it's probably going to get sacrificed end step to the birthing rituals. So might as well get the point in now, just being some good tight play from Belmy. End step, ritual goes off, and we see the top 7 cards. We see some Coiling Oracles. And realistically, what Belmy's looking for here is another Sink into Stupor. We've already seen 2 of them exiled to Ragavan, but Sink is really the only way, Sink and Odawara, to get this token off the board without actually killing it. So here's Coiling Oracle, flip the top card, window, Sink into Stupor. You see Ryan's face there, a little, alrighty then. So Ryan's seen a lot of cards, been pushing through and looking for the way out. And now Ryan has found the Sink into Stupor that can deal with the cat token that pulls a lot of Ryan's offense out of the game here, as well as the potential top deck. So gonna keep going here for ritual number 2. Pretty big game. That's not it though. This is not like a Lightning Helix, you win the game on the spot. This is a, hey, that's the card I need to keep playing and not lose in 2 turns. So Oracle goes again. Top card this time will reveal. Top card this time will reveal a Gemstone Cavern. So gets the land, whatever. Couple cards in hand. Oculi still ready to rock and roll here. We are in the end step. So shuffle and cut end step. Just fetching a Plains for Mullins. So only 1 Surveil land in the list. Sorry, 2. They're both in play. And Belmy going to pass. Upkeep going to make some manifests. Now this is eating into Belmy's library here. Belmy has a lot of cards deep at the moment. So 2 more manifests. And going over Mullins' way. Mullins will draw. Now Sink into Stupor. Can deal with that cat. Ragavan is, can't really attack here. The Ice Fang is gone. But even just double blocking with the Oculi is fine at this point. So Mullins got to figure out how to get through this, how to close this game out. Fantastic start. Great matchup. Playing for 9-0 at the regional championship. Want to be one of those 1 or 2 players any day at 9-0. Trying to queue for the Pro Tour, trying to queue for Worlds, bunch of money up top, and Mullins is going to think it through. Going to mull it over, if you will. Mullins moving into action. We see an Ocelot Pride, just barely off screen here. Ocelot Pride, pretty good here. The Guide of Souls in play, almost guaranteed City's Blessing. So that'll flood this board with a ton of Cat Warrior tokens. And of course, those cat tokens could also flip the Ajani. So this is not ideal. Belmy going to think it through. Sinking Stupor is already earmarked for that Cat Warrior token. So what is the other out? Gonna peek at these whole cards here. This is SCGCON Las Vegas, so peeking at your whole cards is totally acceptable. This deck has a bunch of flares in it. The blue flare, which is a counter spell, sacrifice creature. Also subtlety, because they're gonna pitch cast subtlety here. So even though 6 mana available for Belmy realizes that this 3 mana must be used to cast Sink into Stupor. So just gonna pitch cast subtlety, gonna put that card on top. That's a temporary solution, of course. If Mullins wants to put it on top. Now, there are a lot of really big hits in Mullins' deck that just win the game on the spot with Belmy at 3. So, tough call here to put the Oslo Pride on top and just do it again next turn, or to try and just bottom it and look for a way to win the game. And looks like that card is going to go to the bottom. So, Mullins saying, I got I have bigger fish to fry here, and I'm going to just put that in the bottom, try and draw a new card next turn. So, now, effectively a time walk in a spot where Belmy has a really great engine setup. Here comes the cat token all by its lonesome. I gotta imagine this is gonna be a sinking cat token. Once again, the bouncing the token just sends it into exile. It does not actually kill it. Therefore, the Ajani won't flip, which is the important factor here. Spring into action. And you're gonna sink into Stupor the Cat Warrior token. Get sunk. Mullins knows damn well this is not going to kill it, but you know what? In a spot like this, why not ask? Maybe there's a 1% chance that you're wrong. This is a bouncing the Cat Warrior does exile it effectively, and no trigger. So nothing wrong with asking. Would hate to have to go to dinner and just string up a simple interaction and not being 9-0. So. Going back Belmy's way, Belmy's going to end step unmorph the Endurance. So an extra blocker for Ragavan, also a creature that can be sacrificed to the birthing rituals. And now Ryan really starting to turn things around, despite the fact that the Belmy is in 3 life, at 3 life, and still dead to a lot of stuff. Hardcast Ice Fang, draw a card. Trying to turn this around. Does Mullins have a little top deck action? Has plenty of time to do it at 22 life. We see another Oculi, so that's all 4 Oculi accounted for. Of course, makes sense because Ryan's already seen his entire deck probably twice over at this point, looking at 14 cards on every end step. I'm going to exile the cards and play Oculi number 3. 1 card left in hand. Again, still no attacks here because this Ragavan is holding strong at an 8/7 Flying Angel. And Birthing Ritual goes off. Going to take a look and see what else Ryan can find. So just going to bottom these. Ryan's deck looking a little thin here at this point. So Oculi do eat 6 cards a turn on the Manifest Dreads. So decking here is actually kind of a mild concern for Belmy. And I think Ryan Mullins realizes that. And if Ryan can hold off for a little bit longer, these Oculi are not May triggers. They are mandatory. So you can see 6 more cards go away here. 3 manifests. And the library is looking a little thin. So definitely possible that Belmy revealed a creature off. There you go. See, so there are about 11 cards left. That's only 2 turns. 2 turns of manifesting. So definitely possible that Belmy saw a creature on Birthing Ritual and decided just not to do it. So draw for this turn is an Ajani. This will end the game on the spot. So casting Ajani for Legend Rule would flip the other Ajani, but we see a Flare of Denial being cast. Belmy's got that one covered too. And now Mullins has just the 1 card in hand and going to pass turn back. Belmy trying to complete this comeback here and complete the clean sweep of the terrible matchup to go 9-0 to be one of the 2 or only, depending on how the other matchup goes, there's a pair down in the other match. Undefeated players here on day 1 of the regional championship at SCGCON Las Vegas, the last regional championship of 2025. Got to draw for turn. Quite a messy board here. We see 6 manifests, 3 Oculi, 2 rituals, an Endurance, and an Ice Fang. Big Daddy Ragavan, the wall, the angelic wall holding the fort. 22 life for Mullins. And now Belmy's trying to figure out, hey, we just counted my library and saw that I had 11 cards left. Drew for turn, now have 10 cards left. these Oculi are eating away at the library, and there is not many turns left for Ryan Bellamy to actually win this game. And I like how Ryan's is, kind of realized that. Ryan's saying, hey, I have 2 win conditions right here. Mullen's saying, I have either A, I draw Flage, or like the Ajani was lethal in theory. I draw Ajani, I draw Flage, or some other way to push through the bombardment, less points of damage. Or Bellamy is unable to kill me, and I am able to just hold out for 2 more turns, and Bellamy decks to these Oculi. So, Bellamy thinking it through, needs to find some attacks here, needs to find a way to try and win this game without exposing himself to lethal on the crackback or whatever else. So, again, library count. At this point, this is the kind of point where if you're Mullins, if this is your plan, you're trying really hard to not let Bellamy know it's your plan. So often what you can do is like try and count the graveyard and the exile and then count the cards in play and subtract that from 60 to count the library. It's a fairly common tactic if you want to count a library without your opponent really noticing. But Mullins has already seen Bellamy count the library, so Mullins knows Bellamy is aware of the situation. So we see an attack here from Oculus, Manifest. This is an attack for 19. Mullins is at 22. Endurance may be coming in also. Very, very complicated spot to make sure that Bellamy is able to present lethal here in a manner over 2 turns without just dying on the backspring to a single removal spell or whatever else it might be. And now, there's also the risk of overkill here too, where you could say, why doesn't Bellamy just attack with everything, basically? This would force some blocks and stuff, because realistically, Bellamy doesn't need to do that. Putting Mullins down to 2 life is just the same as putting Mullins down to 8 life, because the attack will still be lethal next turn, and it's more risky overall. So, Bellamy got to cover all the bases here. Got to check out these manifests, make sure what they are. If they're flying blockers, it's a big deal. So we see 2 blockers left back for the Ragavan and the Endurance and the Ice Fang. And then we see the attack of Oculi, Oculus, Manifest. It is 15, it is 21 damage. Amusingly, Mullins is at 22. So Mullins could just take this entire attack. But Ragavan is probably going to block because it's so big. But now Mullins needs to think, okay, normally in a game like this, I'd be interested in killing an Oculus because Oculus is the best card in Bellamy's deck. It's not even close. But right now, these Oculi are part of the win condition for Mullins, right? Because we decided the win condition here is possibly decking. So Ragavan might just want to block one of these manifests instead. Just let Bellamy have the Oculi. We said there's about 10 cards in Bellamy's deck. So that's 2 turns of Oculi. So with one of those gone, that gives Bellamy an entire additional turn. So Mullins is going to block a manifest here. And then looks like just going to take 19 and go to 3. Going to add it up, do the math. Mullins here looking for the best way to win. And deciding that this is it. Going to peek at those manifests. This is our block. We have Mullins taking 19 damage. Going to put Mullins also down to 3. Manifest is blocked by this Ragavan. Of course, bit of a shell game here. If that Manifest number 4 was an Ice Fang Coddle, that would not be too good for Mullins, but just going to peep things through here. Bellamy also has some end-step birthing ritual triggers to look at as well. Going to peek through and see, at this point, Bellamy knows every card in his deck. He's been through his deck multiple times, so the cards come back randomly, but we still know what's in there. So, huge stack. We see Mullins fall all the way down to 3 life. The manifest that was blocked by Ragavan was a Stern Scolding, Fool of a Took. And 3 to 3. End step. Here comes the ritual. We see 7 cards. There are 2 cards left there. I think it's 9 cards in library. Yeah, 1, 2, 3. So we see Bellamy's finding creatures, but just not worth taking one of them. Library size is more important than a creature. So put those back. Here go the manifests. Now we're going to see 2 cards. Make a manifest. 2 cards, make a manifest. 2 cards, make a manifest. This is leaving, I believe, 3 or 4 cards in library for Bellamy. Drawing Mullins' way, and here we go. Mullins wants to force a game 3 here. It's going to have to be something to keep him alive or a way to win the game. Goblin Bombardment, second to Johnny, Flage. A lot of outs to force a game 3. Going to start things off. Tap mana, and we see Galvanic Discharge targeting the Ice Fang Coddle. There is still a blocker available for the Ragavan. So leaving back that second creature that can block Ragavan is a big deal. Guide of Souls. We have 3 energy available. So use the energy, pop to the Guide of Souls. If any of these manifests can block the flying creature, there's an Ice Fang flip. 2 blockers available, going for lethal. There's the blocks, not gonna do it. Ryan Bellamy, 9-0 with an unbelievable comeback. So Boros Energy is not a good matchup. And Ryan Bellamy able to win both games in the matchup, even game 2 here on the draw. There we are in the booth. Woo! Good stuff, right? Me and Corey looking good. Able to win both games. Game on the draw. Let's just talk. Let's see what we got.
He won that game when we were looking at that spot where he just, Mullins just curved out perfectly. Basically from the point that Mullins was attacking, putting the Guide of Soul counters on something. That's definitely going to be something Mullins is going to look back on. Yep. And, that would be a great moment to make a video about, talk about your reasonings.
Wow.
Why you did such a thing.
What a coincidence, Corey.
That could have been done there, but
here we are.
Particular giant rag.
So yeah, in the booth, in the moment, it was hard to do all the math on that attack. So interesting to see the attack added up to putting Mullins down to exactly 1 life while losing a good amount of stuff. I'm still not sure what's right there. If Mullins is at 1, I mean, Bellamy is at 1, I don't really know. But really awesome game, really, really good stuff. Fantastic match, and Ryan Bellamy would unfortunately go on to not make the top 8, but Bellamy did get the requisite wins to make top 32 and queue for his first Pro Tour, which is really, really cool. Really, really fun watching Ryan play over the last year or two doing commentary. So really awesome stuff. So good stuff. All right, awesome match. Really, really good stuff. Thanks for watching. As always, appreciate it. If you like these match reviews, please let me know in the comments. Let me know what you would have done in these games. And of course, like, comment, subscribe, hit the hype button, do all the good stuff. Happy Turkey Day. See you next time.